Okay, hi church. It's Jack again from Walk Ministries. It's been a while. I've been trying to get this out for over a week, but there's been many things coming up that came up in my life. I had to fly out of town for my daughter, but she's better now, and so I want to get this out. I promised the Lord I would get this out. He showed me something up in the sky, which was important to me. And I don't get visions, I don't get dreams or anything like that. But the Lord showed this to me, and I wanted to share it with you. And I learned a lot doing this. A lot of you from the church will know all this. It will be I want to say, review or a confirmation. But it's pretty awesome the way it kind of falls into place. There's really no revelation in it as far as, a time frame, other than we are in the last days, which is again a confirmation. So let me let you know what I saw. Now, this was back in March 17th, and before work I was running on the beach, and I looked up and I saw two letters written in the sky in the clouds, and I was looking at the letters. I recognized them. They were in Hebrew script or cursive form. And I recognize them because I'm studying Hebrew language in hopes to read and write it one day, especially in God's kingdom. To me, it's just a fascinating language, so I enjoy learning it. So, and a few days before this, I was writing practice writing exercises for Hebrew script letters. And these two letters that I saw up in the sky were the last two letters that I finished on my exercise. I went back in my book and it's like, wow, these were the last two. So I knew once I saw them, one I recognized perfectly right off the bat. The other one I knew it was a letter, but I just didn't know which one because it was similar to another one. Now, the letters were upside down as I was standing up. And if I turned around and laid down in the sand and looked up at them, they would be in correct Hebrew, right to left. The letters were Zayin and then Chet. Now, a little bit about Zayin and Chet. First of all, they are the 7th and the 8th letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Now, I'm going to break this up. I did this in one take yesterday, but it was just too long. There's a lot of information, so I'm going to break this up into two videos. So the first one I'm going to explain, to keep it short because it's packed with information. I'm going to do Zayin first, and then the next video will be Chet. So Zayin. Zayin is the 7th letter in the Hebrew alphabet and has the value of and represents the number 7. Number 7 is a heavenly completion, the number of perfection. It represents the Shabbat, the Sabbath day, the day of rest, the 7th year, the year of rest, the seventh year, or the year of Jubilee. In Hebrew tradition, 7 also means 7,000th year in history, the year of the Mashiach. It's important to note that after the 7th day, it's over. Whether it be a week, 7 years, or the millennium, it's done. Because the day after is the 8th day. And in Hebrew, 8 is the number of new beginnings. Okay? That's why you start a new week, and it's the 8th day. Okay, it's actually the first day of the week. So, and that letter is Chet, which we'll be doing in the next study. So, Chet means like new beginning, whether it's a new week, a new Shemitah, a new Jubilee, or a new millennium. Now, the ancient symbol for Zayin is a mattock. It's like a plow. It's a plowing tool. Zayin means to plow, harvest, means food, sustenance, and nourishment. Now, Zayin also represents a sword, a royal scepter of the king. It means to cut off, separate, and to pierce. Now, when I first read this, I'm kind of thinking, how can a weapon and a plow represent the same thing or be represented by the same letter? Think of this, and you'll recognize this as soon as I start describing this, church. But before a farmer can grow food, he must plow, tear up, and pierce the ground to prepare it. Only then can it produce food or sustenance for us. Now the Bible in Genesis tells us that as part of our punishment for sin, God told Adam, "In toil thou shalt eat of the ground." So in God's mercy, even in his judgment, God shows us things to learn, for us to learn. He separated us from the Garden of Eden with a flaming sword. He cut us off and sent us to toil in the cursed ground. Then, in his mercy and grace, he shows us lessons from that. The reason I like Hebrew language is there's beautiful lessons in Hebrew that opens up the Bible. Our forefathers learned that when working the ground and getting fertile soil, it produces a good crop. God uses that as a teaching point for us when he repeatedly tells us in the Bible that fertile ground gives us an abundance and allows it to bear fruit. God uses these lessons, such as this, for us to look at ourselves. In describing the seed sown on the types of ground, he was using the toil we suffered as a lesson for us when Jesus said in Matthew 13:23, "But he that received seed unto the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. In John 15:1, Jesus tells us that he is the true vine and his Father is a husbandman. Some Bibles call it the gardener. So how does God, as a husbandman, prepare us as a soil? God uses a sword. Like a cancer, he cuts off our fleshy sinful parts and ways that are not of him. It is then, and only then, those sinful parts are removed, that he can give us new hearts and nourish us with his word, the sword, and allow the seed to grow and bear fruit. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Now, when you look at the letter Zayin, it resembles, and the Hebrew scholars point this out. This is not stuff that I believe. This is stuff that Hebrew scholars and biblical scholars are teaching. Modern day Zayin resembles a man with a crown on his head. It is actually a Vav, or the sixth letter. Vav represents man. Zayin is a man with a crowned man, or Jesus, the Messiah, as king. The fullness of Jesus, King of Kings, in the seventh day, the last day, which will be the millennial reign of Christ. Now, Vav means six, means man, and it means nail. Zayin is 7, and is the crowned man, Jesus, as king. Now 6 comes before 7, so the man Jesus must come before the crowned Jesus. And when it happens, when Jesus comes as a crowned king, it is his second coming. So Jesus will come in his second coming as king in the 7th day, or the 7,000th year. Is that pretty cool? Now this is going a little diversion, but I'm going to bring it back. Now, in a traditional Hebrew wedding, look up a traditional Hebrew wedding in the internet and read about it, and you'll see, especially as a bride, you will see some amazing parallels. And it's designed that way because Jesus was Jewish and he was talking to Jews so they would understand it. Now, a Jewish wedding is composed of 2 parts: the betrothal or proposal and the wedding ceremony. Now the couple is betrothed, there's a promise made and a promise accepted, and the groom leaves to prepare a house at his father's house. When his father determines it is ready, he sends the groom out to retrieve his bride, usually in 1 to 2 years, but no longer than 2 years. During that time, the bride is called to sanctify or dedicate herself to the groom. This is their words. This is the description of the bride's duties in a Jewish wedding. It has nothing to do with the Torah or the Bible. This is just a description of a traditional Jewish wedding. The bride is called to sanctify or dedicate herself to the groom. In other words, she is to repent or turn away from her old ways and look to her groom to come and prepare herself and dedicate herself, keep her eye on her groom, and be ready when he comes. Does that not say what the bride should be doing? And Jesus also reifies that in the 10 virgins. So, recap for Zion. Zion is a picture of God perfecting us with his sword, so he can nourish us with his word, so we may grow in him and bear fruit. It also represents Christ, the crowned King, his second coming in the last day. It also represents the setting apart. Holy actually means setting apart, so becoming holy and dividing and purifying and sanctifying of his bride. We are to be dedicating ourselves to Jesus. So church, be ready. When the 7th day is here, the King is crowned and with his bride, and it's a time of rest, a Sabbath. That is pretty cool. That is what I got when I just looked up the meaning of Zayin, the 7th letter. All right, that was pretty short. I hope you got a lot out of it. Please do your research. Look this stuff up. It opens up the Bible to you. And most importantly, if this is new to you, please turn toward Christ. Give your lives to Christ. We are close to the last days. We all know this. We are very close to the last days. Okay, so give your lives to Christ. And church, I love you. I will get back with you when I described Chet, the 8th letter, and it describes what happens after the 7th day and more. All right, talk to you guys later. I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye.